SLT speed up සවාරිය සමගින් සද්දන්ත වාසි රැල්ලක්. අලුත් broadband සබඳතා සඳහා පළමු මාස දෙක පුරා data double speed up with SLT.
Making headlines on First at 9. Valikada heats up again. A clash at the Valikada prison premises leaves 8 prison officers and 3 female inmates injured. It was not so easy. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe impressed that bringing stability to the country's struggling economy was a grueling task. Delaying tactics. Leader of the Pivituru Helurumia MP Uday Gammanpilla says the government should not use electoral reforms just to delay the elections. First speech as the PM. Former cricket legend Imran Khan addresses the nation as Pakistan's Prime Minister and set out his vision for a new Pakistan. A very good evening to you and welcome to First at 9 on other Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. 8 prison officers of the Valikada prison were left injured after female inmates hurled stones at the officers. It was reported that these female inmates had been staging a protest on top of the roof today and the assault had taken place after prison officials intervened to control the situation. 3 female inmates had also been injured during the incident.
One of the female inmates at Valikada imprisoned for charges related to drug trafficking commenced a protest on top of the roof of the prison today. She protested against the transfer of a group of female inmates who were involved in drug trafficking to other prison facilities. The group of female inmates in question were involved in a protest within the prison premises earlier in the month. By the afternoon today, more female inmates joined the ongoing protest. Following inquiries by First at 9, prison spokesperson Commissioner Tushara Uppuldeniya told us that around 100 female inmates had begun the unrest by hurling stones at prison officers despite warnings and their attempt to control the situation. Tushara Uppuldeniya added that prison officials were later able to control the situation using minimum powers. 52 female inmates were later transferred to other prison facilities. Meanwhile, footage circulating on social media showed female prison inmates being transferred to prison facilities in Kuruvita, Gaul, Bogambara and Kalutara.
Chief Minister of the Northern Province C.V. Vigneshwaran is of the view that government should work together with the Northern Provincial Council to initiate measures to wipe out public fear in socialising with former members of the LTTE. The Chief Minister made these remarks responding to media in Jaffna today.
Some questioned us as to how we are working towards peace in the country. I mentioned that people's hearts should change in order to establish goodwill. If the South is attempting to dominate the North and the East, there is no chance for goodwill to be established. They questioned me about what the government is doing about the former LTT cadres. When many former LTT cadres were in jail, they were asked to work for the military in order to be released. I told them that their quality of life rose, but they are still under the military. I also told them the perception the society harbours towards former LTT cadres. The society would not like to socialise with them since they had affiliations with the LTTE all those years ago. We, together with the government, should take necessary measures in this regard.
General Secretary of the UPFA, Minister Mahinda Amaraveera, says the opposition is running out of anti-government slogans to rally the public. Addressing a rally in Hambantota yesterday, the minister said this indicated that the government is on the right path, especially because youth employment has been ensured.
The opposition will soon have to put up a banner saying that they require anti-government slogans. Their slogans are useless. When we introduced the ambulance service, they said that Indian spies were being brought to Sri Lanka, but that wasn't the case. Then they spoke about a bridge to India, but that did not happen either. Now they are speaking about the FTA with Singapore. The president has appointed a committee, and if there is any disadvantageous clauses, that will be removed. Then they also said that the government sold all state properties. They said Mattala was sold to India. It has not been sold to anyone. But there is no use of keeping Mattala Airport unless it is operational. Both Mattala Airport and Hambantota Port should be profitably operated. We also need assistance of either India, China, Somalia or any other country that can bring them to profit. We will enter joint ventures in order to ensure employment opportunities are generated for youth, thereby strengthening the country's economy.
Inspector General of Police Pooja Jayasundara says that any program to save the younger generation from the drug menace will be assisted and blessed by the general public. IGP Jayasundara, addressing a function held in Gampaha yesterday, said that use of drugs by youth is a tragedy and measures should be taken with the help of everyone.
40% of the Maldivian population is used to taking drugs, and the country is facing a tragic situation. Sri Lanka is a blessed country. Do we want to see our country suffering the same fate? The future generation will curse the adults and the authorities, including the Inspector General of Police, unless we take eradication measures very soon. Like the public, I also don't want to face such a situation. The final result of it, however, will be that the country is losing its healthier younger generation. Even women take drugs, and yes, that's true. The tragedy is that they make drug use a habit from a very young age. Today, all the government agents and relevant officials are spending their valuable time to fight against this menace. Those efforts should be appreciated as they are geared towards saving this country from the danger.
Leader of the Pivituru Hela Urumaya and UPFA parliamentarian Udaya Gamampila says that the government should not use electoral reforms as an escape route from holding elections on due dates. He also highlights that all elections should immediately be held on due dates until the new electoral system is finalized.
When 3 provincial councils were about to dissolve, the UMP and the SLFP, with the support of the JVP, introduced an amendment to the Provincial Council Elections Act in a mad rush. The stated objective was to get rid of unpopular preferential vote method and to introduce electorate-based election method. But there was an ulterior motive to postpone the Provincial Council elections indefinitely. When the bill was presented to Parliament, all suffering with election phobia united to pass this bill despite our vehement protest. The UMP has already decided to oppose delimitation report as announced by Deputy Minister Nalin Bandara. According to unofficial sources, the JVP will also take the same stand as usual. It must be mentioned that both the UMP and the JVP had their nominees in delimitation committee. So it is crystal clear that the government is now in an attempt to postpone the provincial councils again, most probably indefinitely. Now the SLFP is in support of the report, the UMP is against it. When they were fighting each other, they can conveniently postpone the elections. Our stand is that we are in support of electoral reform, but it should not be an excuse to postpone the election. Therefore, until finalization of the new election method, all elections should be held on due dates immediately. It's a matter of introducing a parliamentary bill with a single operative section. We urge the government to bring such an act without boasting about their democratic achievements.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Polujana Perumuna, Professor G.L. Peiris, alleges that the government has a plan to delay the presidential elections by putting forth a proposal that a president be elected by the members of the parliament. These views were expressed at a media briefing held today.
Today, we are in the extraordinary situation in Sri Lanka that no elections whatsoever are being held. Yesterday, the whole country heard the Prime Minister, the Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, saying that the holding of the provincial council elections is not a matter for the government. He has absolutely nothing to do with it. It is a matter entirely for the Elections Commission. So the Prime Minister passes the buck to the Elections Commission. What does the Elections Commission say? Our hands are tied. There is nothing whatsoever we can do. It is for Parliament to clarify these matters. Until then, we stand mute, silent, and totally inactive. So the result of all this is that we have an Elections Commission. The salaries, emoluments, other privileges have been substantially enhanced by Parliament recently, but no election. Here we have an effort on the part of the government to do the same with regard to the presidential election. This proposal that the president should be elected by parliament rather than by the people of Sri Lanka is yet another clumsy attempt to duck the presidential election. It is a mandatory legal necessity for the presidential election to be held towards the end of next year. That has to happen. Now, here is a devious attempt on the part of the government to avoid the presidential election and to work out some method by which the president will be elected by members of parliament. We are totally against that.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaravira responded to journalists on allegations made by various parties on the delay of elections. The minister said that it is not the present government that should be blamed for election delays, but rather former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who attempted to stall elections during his tenure.
When did we not hold elections? It was Mahinda Rajapaksa who attempted to halt elections through his dictatorial rule. State employees were unable to work independently. Our country did not have an opportunity to develop because every year there were elections being held at one provincial council or another. Instead of going home, Mahinda Rajapaksa decided to become a parliamentarian after he was defeated. Then he attempted to become Prime Minister. Now he is once more dreaming of becoming President. He is like this because of his age. When we pass the age of 70, the same will happen to us.
The Government Medical Officers Association today requested the President to hold an inquiry on the conduct of the Secretary to the Ministry of International Trade. Speaking at a media briefing in Colombo today, the Secretary of the GMOA, Dr. Harita Ludge, highlights that the Secretary of the Ministry of International Trade is disregarding the directives of the President on the Singapore FTA.
We have requested the President to hold impartial inquiry against the conduct of the Secretary, Ministry of International Trade, because we observe that His Excellency the President has directed a commission to inquire into the Singapore Free Trade Agreement, and the President has directed that within 2 months the final report should be ready. Even though the President has declared that the Secretary to the Ministry is not going with the President's directives, and she at the moment have sent email calling all stakeholder consultants of the proposed free trade agreement, and she is going ahead with the EDCA agreement and also the proposed free trade agreement with Thailand. What we are saying is that the President should inquire into these details. All the details we will be producing to His Excellency President to investigate and have a proper inquiry against the conduct of the Secretary to the Ministry.
Let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna parliamentarian Anura Kumara Dissanayaka meanwhile says that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United National Party have proved their failure to govern the country. The parliamentarian added that the SLFP or the UMP have been governing the country during the last 70 years but failed to deliver results.
Does anyone have faith in these two parties to rebuild the country? During the last 70 years, they proved that they failed in that task. Can the country be rebuilt if Mahinda Rajapaksa comes back to power? Absolutely not. He had the executive power, a 2/3 majority. He even had power over many provincial councils as well as many Pradesh Sabhas. 10 years is more than enough to rebuild the country. But they did not do that. They won't be able to even if they come back to power. Ranil Wickremesinghe has been governing the country for 3.5 years. He has proved even his camp cannot do the job. Politics is public service, but in our country it has turned into a business.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe impressed that bringing stability to the country's struggling economy was a grueling task. Addressing an event in Colombo today, the Premier said that the government has, however, managed to stabilise the economy with much difficulty.
A ceremony to present appointment letters to 4,100 graduates was held under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at Temple Trees today.
We were able to bring about stability to the economy amidst great difficulty. Most people said by 2015 this government will become bankrupt. Our aim was to have the debt to GDP ratio of 70% by the end of 2017. However, by 2025, the debt to GDP ratio should be at 60%. If we are to move forward, we need to create jobs, generate income and increase development. Because if we do not have enough income to settle loans and have low foreign exchange, we cannot carry on with this economy. Just like the government has made investments, we now have to move forward by bringing foreign direct investments.
Australian-based rubber gloves manufacturer Ansell, which has manufacturing plants in Sri Lanka as well as around the world, including US, Thailand and China, has suffered a sharp share price plunge after warning that US President Donald Trump's deepening trade war with China could cost the company up to $10 million. Ansell shares tumbled by as much as 10% today, its biggest single-day fall in more than 2 years after providing a worse-than-expected outlook due to rising raw material costs and the impact of 25% tariffs on products Ansell imports into the US from its manufacturing plants in China. The company said a range of actions were available to Ansell to substantially offset the imports of the trade war, including shifting its Chinese-based production to other countries such as Vietnam and pressurizing suppliers to lower their margins. Greece completed its 3-year Eurozone emergency loan program worth €61.9 billion to tackle its debt crisis. It was part of the biggest bailout in global financial history, totaling some $289 billion, which will take the country decades to repay.
After 8 years and roughly $330 billion in loans, Greece is putting bailouts behind it. The country today officially exited the last of the 3 enormous rescue programs that saved it from going bust and abandoning the euro. But the bailouts from the International Monetary Fund, the European Central Bank and the European Commission came at a huge cost that will still be felt for years to come. Deeply unpopular cuts to public spending, a condition of the bailout, are set to continue, but for the first time in 8 years, Greece can borrow at market rates. The economy has grown slowly in recent years and is still 25% smaller than it was in 2007 when the crisis began.
L'avenir, c'est que la Grèce, effectivement, va pouvoir se financer seule sur les marchés. L'avenir, c'est que la Grèce va pouvoir définir sa propre politique économique, bien sûr en poursuivant les réformes, et qu'elle est un pays totalement libre de le faire, comme le sont tous les pays de la zone euro. Attendez, c'est quand même 273 milliards d'euros d'assistance financière qui ont été donnés à la Grèce en contrepartie, c'est vrai, de réformes qui ont été des réformes difficiles, douloureuses, et je serai le dernier à l'ignorer. Mais enfin, il faut quand même le dire.
Colombo equities ended in negative territory today, with the all-share index dropping 6.87 points to 6,044.23 and the S&P/SL 20 of more liquid stocks closed 10.64 points lower. Market turnover was 193 million rupees, down from Friday's turnover of 569.36 million rupees. Foreign investors concluded the day on the selling side with a net outflow of 12 million rupees and foreign participation accounted for 31%. Foreign selling in John Keel's holdings was 34 million rupees, while foreign buying in Dialog was 17 million rupees. The Sri Lankan rupee touched a record low today as importer dollar demand, foreign outflows and government securities weighed on the currency. The rupee touched an all-time low of 160 rupees and 60 cents per dollar in early trade before closing at 160 rupees and 50 cents to 160 rupees and 70 cents. Let's take a look at today's currency rates. A group of elderly South Koreans are in North Korea for a reunion with their war-separated families whom they have not seen since the Korean War between 1950 to 1953. This is the first time in 3 years that reunion events have been organized between the two Koreas.
The family reunion, which is held during the celebration of the National Liberation Day of Korea, was announced in the Panmunjom Declaration for Peace after leaders from the two sides met in April. The South Koreans were chosen by a lottery. The oldest of them is 101 years old. There are 83 North Koreans and 89 from the South. Earlier, 100 people had been selected by each side, but some dropped out after realizing the relatives they had hoped to see were no longer alive. They will spend 3 days in North Korea and most of their visit will be heavily supervised. Many separated families have not heard of their missing relatives in nearly 70 years since the Korean War was halted by armistice in 1953. Some waited a lifetime for news of their family.
More than 22,000 people were rescued from the flood-hit Indian state of Kerala yesterday after monsoon rains which started in June finally eased. Over 350 people have been killed so far, most deaths due to landslides.
Military teams as well as disaster response forces are deployed for rescue operations in the flood-hit Indian state of Kerala, while helicopters also brought much-needed supplies to communities cut off by 2 weeks of incessant rain. Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan, said the number of people taking refuge in 5,645 relief camps now stood at 725,000. Officials of the disaster management team are also preparing to deal with a possibly outbreak of waterborne and airborne diseases in temporary relief camps. Foreign media reports that initial estimates suggest that floods have caused 2.3 billion euros of damage, but the amount is expected to rise.
Pakistan clarified today that Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi had not made an offer of a dialogue in a letter to his new counterpart Imran Khan. Media reports quoting a Foreign Office spokesperson said this responding to a query regarding reports. On Saturday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a letter to his new Pakistani counterpart Imran Khan, said that India is committed to peaceful neighbourly ties with Pakistan. As reported by Indian media, Modi had said in his letter that India looked forward to a constructive and meaningful engagement with Pakistan. Khan, who promised resounding government reforms in his first address to the nation as Premier, is seen to bring a new wave of South Asian relations.
To become a leader, you have to face resistance.
We have puppets sitting there who are manipulated by superpowers for their own ends.
This is the biggest trap. People fail when they compromise on their dreams and their vision.
Former cricket legend Imran Khan addressed the nation for the first time as Pakistan's Prime Minister on a televised speech at 9:30 p.m. yesterday. Khan set out his vision for a new Pakistan and spoke at length about the need to reshape the country by introducing an Islamic welfare system, reducing poverty and slashing high debt levels. Highlighting that Pakistan's officials live luxurious lives, affecting the general public, he revealed his decision to break the tradition of his predecessors to keep 524 servants and 33 bulletproof cars. Khan said he will enter a simpler lifestyle with only the aid of 2 servants and 2 vehicles personally, while rest of the vehicles of the PM house will be auctioned so that the funds could be spent on the country.
I want to tell my people, in fact, I will say it in front of all of you, I will live a simple life. I have to keep these guards due to security reasons. I will save every penny of your money.
While announcing his intention to not live in the PM house, Imran Khan said that it will be turned into a top-level university for research, which will have international experts. Meanwhile, Imran Khan's new 20-member cabinet took their oaths in Islamabad today. President Mamnoon Hussain administered the oath, where 15 federal ministers and 5 advisers were sworn in. A former foreign minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, has been given the portfolio of foreign affairs. The former chief minister of Northwestern Province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Parvez Khattak, was appointed the defence minister. Meanwhile, former Indian cricketer turned politician Navjot Singh Sidhu, who is under a lot of criticism in the Indian political arena for attending Imran Khan's inauguration ceremony on Saturday, as the only high-profile Indian to do so, brushed off negative comments stating that positive anything is better than negative nothing. In an interview with NDTV, Sidhu said yesterday that he now has stronger hope India-Pakistan dialogue and peace.
All the three army chiefs had to come and meet the people who were sitting in the front row. So I met the naval chief as well and air marshal as well. And then in between, Bajwa Saab walks up to me. He was very warm and he said that Navjot, we want peace. That was wonderful to hear. And then, without me saying anything, he says that we'll open up the Kartarpur Sahib corridor when that takes place. It was like a dream come true, and I was so overjoyed. And he says, we'll even think of doing better things. So it was very positive. I think we need to take cognizance of the fact that this is a change, and any change will bring hope. Hope sees the invisible, conquers the impossible. Once you have hope and trust in a man that you've known for the last 35 years, so if he says that you come one step forward, we'll come two. I pray to God that India takes that one step. And ultimately, if we have to, move forward, peace and talks on the table, moving in a positive direction is the only way.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Sheila Fernando is at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Well, people of the northern and eastern provinces should brace themselves for some warmer temperatures tomorrow, as the highest of 35 degrees Celsius expected in the Batticaloa and Ampara districts. Well, when looking at the map, a low pressure zone will develop in the western province and will gradually disappear. Moving on to your rain forecast, most parts of the upper region of the country will experience sunny weather. But those who are in the lower region of the island will have to expect the wet weather. That's all from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And before we go tonight, we'd like to take you to the Knuckles Range, also called Dumbara Mountain, located off Kandy in the northern and off the central highlands of Sri Lanka. The Knuckles Range is home to many endangered and endemic species such as the wild boar, spotted deer, giant squirrel, barking deer, purple-faced leaf monkey, and also features a great diversity in its forest cover where 20% of plants that are endemic to Sri Lanka can be found. We hope you enjoy these visuals and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.